But good morning, everyone. Thanks for tuning in for another artist interview and gallery tour. I'm your host, Tony, and today we're joined by the master of modern memeism, Batzdu. We're going to be checking out a gallery curated with some works from his collections and getting to know him a bit more. I did just pin the link to that gallery at the top of the spaces, so please make your way in there when you can. We've got a great tour for you guys today. The space is looking amazing. You'll be able to see Bats here, and his little avatar is small. And I am the Satoshi. How are you doing today, Bats?
I'm doing good, man. I just want to make sure y'all can hear me as well.
Loud and clear. You sound great.
Oh, good. Okay, that means I'm doing things right. I was afraid I was going to fuck it up calling in from desktop, but yeah, dude, doing good. I'm really excited about this. And it definitely goes without saying that, thank you all for having me and putting this together. I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, I had to rep the small avatar. I thought was like perfect earlier today. I think we were both in there, and I was like looking through the models I had, and I was like, oh shit, I have like these small 3D models I can run around with, so I have to use one.
Have to. I mean, the small looks great. Those are some crazy eyes and a crazy jacket on yours right now. Yeah. Really liking that.
Yeah.
We have Jules as a speaker up here too. Jules, GM, how are you today? You excited for this tour? Maybe Jules isn't there. But Jules, we see you and we love you, man.
Yeah.
Happy Friday.
Jules is the best. He's a good dude.
Again, guys, for anybody that's just tuning in, we are doing an in-world gallery tour. All the audio is going to be routed through the spaces. I did pin the link there at the top, so make sure you join us. We got a lot of great art to walk through today. But yeah, I guess we could go ahead and get started. Yeah. So Bats, you are a designer by trade, right? Can you tell us a little bit about your background and when you first started creating art?
Yeah. Oh yeah, man. Yeah, it's an interesting journey. I reflected on this quite a bit. I guess over the past years, especially if I've kind of embraced my role here as an artist and a creative, just like, I don't know, trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together to like understand where all of this began. And I really do think that it started at a much younger age. Whenever I was 5 years old, I was in a really bad car accident in which I had like post-traumatic stress disorder from, and going to see the therapists, like my mom would take me. I think we would go like once a week just to like see how things are going, because I had like, issues with cars, loud sounds, like that kind of stuff. And every time I was there, I never really remember talking about the thing. I just remember drawing and coloring with markers and all sorts of things. And I truly think that like those were the early seeds planted in me that art and doing creative things is going to be a huge part of my life. And I really, and it turned out to be so, right? I didn't really get into digital art until I was in high school. Don't want to age myself too much, but this was like mid 2000s. Kind of growing up, I was just a child of the internet. I think like most of us, just absolutely obsessed with it, as well as gaming. And so I was on gaming forums all the time for like Call of Duty, first person shooters, like competitive gaming, all that kind of stuff. And I saw that like clans would have these sick clan signature tags in the forums. And I was just like, man, I want to do that. Like, I want to be the guy who does that for everybody. So I pirated a copy of Photoshop and got to work, like watching tutorials, figuring it all out. And from there, it kind of snowballed into a greater love for digital art, because I ended up stumbling upon DeviantArt, kind of making an account there, getting involved with these really niche digital art collectives and communities, of which I know Jules we've kind of bonded over this before in the past, but like places like Depthcore and Evoke One and Slash3, who really started in the early to mid 2000s, that actually comprised of a lot of big names that we know today, like Rick Ostenbrook, Pac, Justin Maller, et cetera, et cetera. I really got deep into that. and started, I think, more so pursuing the avenues of art and expression through digital art. So from there, I would just, make art. I was in a few collectives, like none of the really big ones, nothing like Depthcore or anything like that. But I think, from there, I knew that what I would be doing with my life would be creative. I just didn't, quite know how. And so that's when I, graduated, go off to college for graphic design. And from there, I think the digital art side of me took a bit of a back seat as I was like super focused in my studies. Just, really coming to understand the foundations and history of design. And honestly, I'm super grateful for it, because I do think that that design language, design studying really informs a lot of my work. I think it's kind of reflected even in here. You can understand that many of these works are grid based. There's that great book by Joseph Miller Brockman about grid systems, like raster grid systems. And that was kind of like my Bible in college. I would just study that. And I do think that it is kind of, in one way or another, ingrained into my creative process, where like a lot of, especially the geometric pepes would, some of them I would just start with the grid and start laying on lines and colors and those kinds of things. But yeah, after college, I just went and did the thing as a junior graphic designer, and, I doing like a bunch of, I don't know, shitty work that no one wanted to do. I don't know, if we have any designers in the audience, but you'll probably understand where I'm coming from. And then just worked professionally as a designer for, 6 or 7 years, or God, longer than that, 10 years actually, now that I think about it. And during that time, like 2017, got very into crypto, super just like obsessed with it. And then came along NFTs and those types of things, which I'd been following people and like Fuck Render and a lot of these big artists for a while who were getting in. And so late 2020, when all that kind of started to unfold, I was like, whoa, it's really clicking for me. So I'll try my hand at this. And yeah, I think in early 2021 started like releasing work, and somehow, I guess by virtue of just like not giving up and just sticking with it, I'm here now, and we're doing this interview talking about my work, and I feel very blessed to do so.
Wow, thank you so much for that introduction into your life. That's amazing. Super sorry to hear about that car accident, of course, and you developing that PTSD. But it's great that it led into, you expressing yourself through art and now being where you are at now. So that's interesting. And yeah, you covered a couple of the questions that I was going to ask, mainly being if you went to art school. You said you studied graphic design. And then, so you really got into crypto in 2017 and then discovered NFTs. And this is mainly inspiration through Beeple, right?
Yep. Yeah, man. I had, I don't know how long ago it was, but I remember running into Beeple's work kind of like later in college. It may have been like 2012, 2013. And like, I think first and foremost, just seeing his work and be like, wow, this is so cool. Because I think just around that time too, I'd gotten introduced to Cinema 4D, and I was kind of like exploring, artistic approaches through using Cinema 4D, and stumbled upon Beeple. And then, digging a little bit deeper into like his everydays process. And there was a stint where I did everydays for a whole year from like 2015 to 2016 too, just as a practice, which is, it's an incredible thing to do. And also I would add, extremely challenging. It's incredible that he's been able to do that for so long.
Totally. Yeah. Beeple definitely is a big inspiration for a lot of artists in the space. I guess one question that I wanted to ask you, I know you have a little story behind it, but for anybody that's listening and that doesn't know, how did you come up with your name, Batzdu?
Yeah, Batzdu. So like late 2020, early 2021, I wanted to approach the space with anonymity. I love that about this. And it's so funny to me. Like I talk about it with my wife all the time. I'm like I'm not even kidding. A lot of my best friends are just like avatars,
profile pictures.
Yeah, right. Like, and it's just funny how that works because there's so many people in this space who I do have so much trust in and like actual love for, who I don't even know. I just know them as some avatar, but that's okay. But so I wanted to approach it from an anonymous perspective. And so I would just kind of like rattling my brain with how would I, what's my name going to be, I guess. So whenever I was in college, I really loved Dada. Like whenever we were studying art history, like I really fell in love with Dada, just like the kind of, it's the conceptual nature of it all. It's like challenging the ideals of art. Like I love that. And so I really wanted my name to be a bit of a spin-off of that. And I went through a bunch of iterations of like trying to combine names to see what would work, what would, kind of be catchy or memorable. And what I ended up landing on is Batzdu, which is the first two letters of the last names of some of the kind of like pioneers of Dada. So it's Hugo Ball, Tristan Tzara, and Marcel Duchamp. And so, yeah, that's how Batzdu came about. I think a lot of people probably know me as Bats, but I'm always happy to elaborate on my roots when it comes to that.
Yeah, I love that. It's such a creative name. A lot of artists typically just use their first and last name, but I know given the space and the anonymity behind it, it's really interesting to see the stories behind the usernames that people create. Some people use just like a gamer tag or something that they've always used as a kid growing up, but yours has an interesting spin on it for sure.
Yeah.
So I know that at the end of January, you had recently left your IRL job to, be able to focus on art full time.
Yeah.
What has that been like for you?
Man, it has been, I wish I would have made the decision like a longer time ago. Like, I don't know, I kind of feel like I was 8 months late or like a year late. Just because, after the fact, I could truly feel that sense of relief. And not just that, it's like the mental clarity that comes with it all. Like I'm no longer either tied down to or really worried about my IRL job. And that allows for, I think, greater focus for all of this, which is what I like truly care about. I'm just so, I said it at the beginning of this, like I feel so blessed to be able to do all of this. And I've had serious discussions with collectors that what I'm doing here is not a, just a kind of flash in the pan type of thing. Like I truly consider all of this the beginning of my life's work in a lot of ways. Like I plan on doing this for as long as I'm alive. So it's been a really great transition, man. I feel lucky, really, really lucky to be able to do it. And I think, the other side of that is that I get to spend a lot more time with my son and my wife. There's no like 8 to 5 job that I'm, tied to every single day. Like if I want to go get lunch with my family and spend a couple extra hours with them, like I can do that. And I'm so fucking grateful for it.
I really love that for you, man. Yeah, congratulations on being able to do this full time. I know that's a blessing. Did you ever have any like doubt from like maybe friends or family, like, oh, it's not a phase, Mom, like I promise I'm really doing the hard thing?
Yeah, it's funny. I think at first, I was talking to my parents about it. And I do, like, at first, I think they were very apprehensive and just like, are you really sure about this? Like,
right.
I'm not sure, but it was actually what pushed me over the edge is Mrs. Batts really gave me the, I think, kind of just like the confidence to just go for it. I mean, it's something that I've always thought about, and have wanted to do. And I had a really serious discussion with her last December about it. And her response to me was like, well, I think the answer is right in front of you, and you know what you need to do, which is pursue the thing that you love. And I support you 100%. And honestly, after that, I was like, fuck it, we're going. Like, we're doing it. That was all that I needed to hear. And always shout out to her, because she's been my like rock through all of this, and she definitely keeps me. I think she gives me a lot of confidence that I lack, or trust in myself that I lack. So honestly, couldn't do it without her.
I love that for you, man. It's always great to have that little push and extra moral support from the friends and family, even if it's mixed reactions. At least you get some support from somewhere.
Yeah. I think my parents get it a little bit more now too. Like, I try to I try to like key them in on stuff that's going on, and they I think they lack a lot. They're boomers. They lack a lot of the like understanding of the space, but I think what they do understand, and what's most important, is that I'm loving what I do and enjoying it and having success with it, and
that's the important part.
Yep. And they're just more than happy to support if I'm happy. So.
Well, for a quick reminder for anyone that's just joining the space, we are in World, and we are about to get started on this gallery tour. We were just having a quick intro from Bats, a little bit about his background and his life. So please make sure to make your way to the pin linked at the top. And if you can, please show some love for the space with either a retweet or a comment or anything to get the algorithm really going. It's going to be a nice tour with some interesting discussion around the collections in here. And I guess without further ado, we could start looking at some artworks. I know this very first room, when you enter the gallery, we have the Geometric Pepes collection by you.
Yeah.
And this was a collection you released in August of 2022. And you were creating these for fun in your downtime, and then posting these as a daily GM post. And the reception was really great. You then started releasing them as one drops on Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
Would love to really hear the inspiration behind you starting this collection.
Yeah, man. This is, first of all, y'all did, like, you did such a good job putting all this together. It's always just so wild to see everything together like this. And I'm just, thank you for doing this. Like that back wall with the yellow background surrounded by the dark mode Geometric Pepes is so great. But anyways, the inspiration behind it all, are really like what kicked all of it off. Really for me was, it's funny too, like my small avatar, really kind of reflects that, right? Like I've been in the space for a while, and I think towards late 2021, I think I started to get more like in tune with the presence of Pepe, like in NFTs through fake rares and those kinds of things, but also upon that discovering Dark Farms and that community and Dark Farms as an artist, and finding that community was like it was definitely like the turning point for me. I simply found a bunch of friends who I enjoyed, who seemed like great people, thought the same way that I did. And we were all just kind of there to celebrate the art of Dark Farms with no ulterior motives. We truly just loved the thing, right? Mm-hmm. And so being, a creative, an artist, it's always like an inclination to say, okay, how can I channel this? Like, right, what is going to come out? I need to express this somehow, like how I'm feeling. And that's how Geometric Pepes came about. And my thought behind it all, which this is very like much a kind of designery type of thing, is to, simplify, minimalize, make things clean. But, really you could say that the initial kind of prompt or approach was, how could you break the form of Pepe down into something that is extremely simplified, yet still capture the essence of the original object, right? That was always my goal with geometric Pepes. And this first one here, the one that kind of like kicked it all off, like I remember posting it in either Discord or like the small Twitter group, being like, hey, like, you know, I made this. This is just like a fun creation. I don't have any intentions of selling this or anything. I just want to share it with you guys, and see what you all think. And it had great reception. They're like, yeah, and, you know, share it on Twitter. Like, why not just post it? And sure enough, like the day that I posted it, a collector, Paul Tran, I don't know if he's in the audience or not. Paul, if you're out there, I love you, dude. He replied, hey, like, where can I get this? Or like, is this for sale? Which, of course, I had no expectations. I was just expecting like a GM back, and that's really about it. So I was like, well, you know, maybe I can sell him this one and you know, get a little sell. Like, that's cool for me. I'll keep doing these. So we talked on the side and you know, decided to do like a 0.1 ETH deal or something like that. And that's why all of the rest of them just remain like that. That was always the default auction, was 0.1. And really, man, it just snowballed from there. I continued to post them daily. Got a lot of like, there's people, I mean, I'm going to miss some folks, but there's people like Fungible who were really supportive early on, and I think kind of acted as a catalyst in terms of like spreading my art, which I'm super, super, super grateful for. And yeah, it just turned into this, you know, collection of 100 geometric Pepes that I think is like what I would say is like the center of my kind of artistic journey or artistic universe, and you know, it always will be.
Yeah, I love that. And, you know, shout out to the small community. Shout out to Paul for buying this work. I know that, you know, back on Twitter, there was a user, The Real VG. He had posed a question asking artists basically if they had infinite ETH but could only buy back one of their creations that had been collected, what would it be? Mm-hmm. And you had replied and you had answered that it would actually be this GM Pepe #1 here. Yep. Does Paul still own it? Could you maybe share a little bit about the significance of this piece in particular and why you love it so much?
Yeah, no, and it's funny because Paul actually sold that to GVG. GVG now owns. He owns #1. Yeah, I mean, I think,
so that's why you replied that to.
Well, right,
hoping like, oh, hey, I'll sell it back to you.
Sell it back to you. Come on, what are you doing? But yeah, I mean, I think it's just, you know, it is safe. It's so just like a really interesting thing to reflect on. Like, I do look back at geometric Pepe #1 and kind of get emotional about it, just because it represents a lot to me. And it was, though I had been in the space for, you know, a couple of years, it just kind of it's like the kicking point for me, right? Like, it was it represents just so much of my journey as an artist and as a person in this space. There's just there's a lot behind that image, I feel, especially given, you know, I didn't say this, but given the timing of it all too, like, you know, I released this in early August, which coincided with, you know, me getting let go from my job, so I didn't have a job at the time. That same exact week, finding out that I was going to be a dad. So it was a lot of things, like just a lot of kind of uncertainty. And this creative outlet that was geometric Pepes, I think, really softened the blow of a lot of that for me. Like, I was really able to keep my head above ground or above water and, you know, just kind of keep pushing forward. Because I did have this like uber creative outlet that I was enjoying and was occupying my brain space and my time. It's a special one.
Yeah, I love that for you. Sometimes things just happen at the right moment. I'm glad you were able to get some
Yeah.
peace of mind that this was gaining popularity and traction. What was your reaction like when you realized that this was starting to blow up for you?
Dude, it was. I mean, it was just like crazy. I really didn't. I mean, and then sometimes I think I still really don't know how to like cope with it or deal with it because it can be a lot. But really, I think the biggest thing is that um, man, this like core collector base of geometric pepes who have been around for like since the beginning. Like I've got a great collector chat with all of them, and one of my favorite things that has come from this is that like core group of people who I truly think of as genuine great friends of mine. And along the way I've made connections with so many people who I feel tight with now, and who I can call my friends, who I can rely on for who I can confide in and rely on for advice or just to talk with. It's very I don't know. It's funny in a world where we're mostly all anonymous. I feel just so connected. Um,
Totally.
yeah, which is it's just a funny result of it. But yeah, I mean, genuine reaction is always just kind of disbelief. I mean, even like with my most recent release with like memes, there's still that level of holy shit, I can't believe that number one, I get to do this, but also number two, that just like people connect, like they understand the artistic language that I speak, and I can connect with them on that level, which how I feel is a very, very, very deep connection. So just lots of gratitude and disbelief, just grateful for it all.
Totally. Shout out to your collectors, man. The money and,
Dude.
and the success and the fame is always nice, but the most important part is the friends and the people
Yep.
you meet along the way in this space.
Dude,
Totally.
they are, I
Invaluable.
mean, genuinely the best. I just like, I really cannot say enough about them. One thing that, and I definitely was not doing this intentionally at this time. This was more so a reflection after the fact, but I find that really, in one way or another, curating a great collector base right that is so important for an artist, because those are the folks who they believe in you, and they're the people that you kind of want in your camp. Like, it's not the grail collector is the collector who collects your work because they love it, not because they're trying to quick it or flip it for a quick buck. Sometimes that's really hard to tell in this space, but fortunately I had landed with a group of collectors who just genuinely love the thing and connect with it.
Totally. Would you say that, this geometric Pepe's collection is the one collection that maybe has impacted your career the most as an artist?
I think so. I definitely think so. Especially too because it, a result of all of that was like, people finding my first collection that I minted, which was
Isn't
like
that on Object? Tezos, maybe?
no, well, there is work on there. I do have a lot of Tezos work. That my work on Tezos was actually the first pieces that I had ever sold. Like I caught some wind there whenever Tezos Summer was popping off. Like I was able to sell some stuff there, which was great. It's honestly, I think about this a lot, but it is a shame sometimes that like Tezos just has fallen a bit to the background.
I agree.
There's so much incredible art there. Like truly, just some of my favorite pieces that I own exist on Tezos. But well, it's funny. Like this gave people like exposure to what I would say like my first collection, which was commodes, like crypto commodes, which was in like taking an effort to take the piss out of Pac a little bit. Not to say like I know people have their feelings about him and how he's kind of operating in this space, but I'll always say that like I love Pac's work. I always will. I've known him since like the days of /3, and I could just tell like what the like this dude just has it. I really, I've always just been a huge fan. But that being said, I wanted to take like the piss out of his like rotating cubes, basically, is what he would create, with these like really deep philosophical kind of, whatever you want to call it, written word to, explain his work, which is fine, again. But I was like, okay, well, I'm going to do that, but with commodes. And so that's what I did. Like I started creating like these rotating these rotating toilets. And that also kind of goes back to my roots of loving Dada and Duchamp's Fountain. What was great was that Geometric Pepes gave that collection exposure. Now I've got a great group of collectors with that. I always say this, I feel like during these interviews, but someday I feel like I need to revisit commodes and create some more, just because they were a lot of fun. And that's really kind of how I started, or at least, the work that I started to mint in this space.
We love the alpha. We love the little bits of alpha. You heard it here first. How did you decide on the geometric style for this collection?
Yeah, I mean, it's just I think, again, it goes back to like my graphic design background. Like whenever I was in school, I was huge on the Swiss international movement. The likes of Joseph Mueller-Brockman, Reuter, Hoffman, even like later on, like Massimo Vignelli, that kind of stuff. But again, like all very grid based. And I think that it was like the way that all of this looks and the visual style of it is a result of that, honestly, just basically laying lines and colors onto a grid, produced the style of it. It wasn't necessarily like I'm going to go do this exact thing, like this is what it's going to look like visually. It was more like, let me lay out a grid and just kind of see how things shape out. And it was honestly after I hit this first one, the first Geometric Pepe, and felt really good about it. I just kept repeating that. I would lay out grids, see how I can make things work. Towards like the later end of the collection, though, I would say I got away from that like a little bit. Even like on number 100 over here, you'll kind of see like it's, I think, more of a reflective and a bit of a different approach to that versus something like the one next to it, Geometric Pepe 11, which is definitely set off by like a grid with the diagonal lines set in the middle, or even the one next to it, which again can easily be defined by the grid that it's set on.
Yeah, I love that. We've got some good range in here. So, I'd love to know a little bit more about the significance of Pepe in your life and, how he's influenced your work, even still so today.
Yeah. Oh, dude, we're going to need more than an hour.
Yeah. And I do want to make sure to be able to cover all the art in here. So please stop me or feel free to tell me no.
Yeah. I just, it's funny. I think the roots of it all being that, like I had mentioned earlier, very much a child of the internet, like, terminally online in a sense, or as much as I could be. I was on like 4chan a ton. That is like just straight exposure to Pepe, and just like memes in general and that kind of thing. And it was, I saw, especially in our world, like in the crypto space, the artistic approach to Pepe had always intrigued me. And I don't necessarily think that I thought about it this deeply at the time. And I've definitely reflected on it more and can speak more to it. when I think about like memes is really just kind of a whole. But really, all of this, I think, is an effort to proliferate a meme into a different space, which it never really kind of existed, right? If that makes sense, like a more kind of what they call like a memeplex, like an artistic memeplex or an artistic vision, rather than just a reaction to something or a, you know, to really simplify it, a funny picture on the internet, that kind of thing, right? So I think it's just, since that has very much been my mission since Geometric Pepe's, kind of unknowingly at the time, but now I realize what I'm doing here, kind of what my purpose is here. I think it's just become such a huge part of my work. And I mean, really just like a cornerstone of it. You know, I think about memes pretty deeply these days and what it means, not just for like art or for my creative expressions, but really how it exists in humanity, and almost thinking about like memes as a language type of thing. It's a hell of a rabbit hole to go down, and frankly, I'll be the first one to tell you, I don't think any of my thoughts or ponderings are really concrete yet, because I think that it is still a memes is like research in the field is still underway, and we're really figuring out what that means for humans. But really, my duty here is to just proliferate memes on the internet, and I think that Pepe is the best way to do that, because it is easily the most proliferated meme on the internet, and I think really represents, it is like the meme, in my opinion, that represents human culture. So
I love that. Keep peppering us with the memes. You know, this collection turned out amazing. Very great job. I know that this collection really inspired you to want to, you know, push the envelope a little more with generative art.
Yeah.
And that's where the memes were born. Shall we make our way over into the next room now?
Yeah.
Sweet.
Please.
Yeah, so, you know, the memes in this second room, these all began with a keyboard. I don't have any keyboards posted in this gallery. But, you know, the keyboards you had first airdropped to holders of your Geometric Pepe series back in January of last year, and then you had explicitly warned that if there was a single listing before 4/20 of 23, that you would then run a time edition release of the keyboards until that exact day of 4/20/23. And then I think it was that same day that you had airdropped them.
Yeah, so someone listed it like immediately. Like, I mean, immediately.
They must have not seen your tweet.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then from then you dropped the manifold link for the keyboard around the 15th of January, I think that was, and it really just spurred a frenzy on the timeline, which led to, I think it was 6,420, wow, what a number, mints over the duration. And yeah, that's how this was born.
Yeah.
I would love to maybe know a little bit more about the inspiration behind the image of the keyboard itself.
Yeah. Oh man. Gosh, a lot there. Yeah, the keyboard itself, I had, so the keyboard was all like on the I see DK's question real quick, just to answer it. My favorite graphic designer, Joseph Mueller Brockman, by far. Think he's the greatest to ever do it. And I literally I'll have to maybe post them on the timeline. Like, I have all of these posters of him. Well, they're not hanging up around my office because I'm in the middle of moving, but I'll have to share them because I just I truly think he's the greatest. So anyways, back to it. Yeah, the keyboard, man. Okay, so I had just done Pepe Denz's that January, which was great. Like, that was such a fucking awesome time. I think, like, in my career here as an artist, it was just like such a memorable, enjoyable moment in time. During that time, I had gotten, you know, I had started to grow quite a bit, to gain a bit more of a presence in the space. And I think, as you all know, with that will come certain actors who are gonna, you know, say shit. They're they're here to like flip for money, which is okay. Like people can do whatever they want. That's okay. I'm not saying you can't. That's fine. But they were kind of coming at me with like a lot of just, dude, I was getting like the worst. That's when I really started to like get the abusive DMs and like people just like talking shit or just like saying mean things because prices are going up. And I got this one DM from somebody that was like, momentum kind of stopped, not sure what happened, prices down, something like that.
And this is around the keyboard
series, this was because of Pepe Denz's.
Right.
And after I got that, I had thought to myself, I was like, does this fucking guy think that I just have like a keyboard that, you know, does like make price go up, make price go down? And I was like, actually, you know what? I want to make that like a piece of art, or like express it creatively. So I had posted like a very simplified version of it. I think it was just like one of the keys were green and it was like make floor go up and like that's it. And that's people great. It really kicked off. Like people really liked that. And then so I kind of developed it more into this like this is actually what my keyboard looks like. And it was like make floor go up, GM, GN, bomb grip Pepe, like that kind of thing. And then I was like, okay, I'll airdrop it to my holders. And this is actually coincided with the time when open edition like meta was really, really, really kicking off. I don't know if, a lot of people probably remember that time. And like you were saying, if someone lists it very much in like taking inspiration from ACK kind of way, shout out. ACK's a great dude. Probably, one of my favorite artists in the space, not even close. But kind of taking inspiration from that and saying, look, I'll start an open edition if you guys list this. And sure enough, that happened, which was funny because like during that time of the open edition mint for the keyboards, I was getting like more of those messages. So I would just update the metadata to like keep poking fun at those people, which kind of cathartic in a way because like it's kind of like a clapback, but I'm doing it creatively and expressing it that way, which was a lot of fun. And so kind of how that relates to all of this, like the generative memes project, I knew going back to like the early Geometric Pepe series, I remember getting on one of the early ones, probably Geometric Pepe like 3 or 4, 4156 had replied to one of them and said, something to the tune of like, man, Artblocks needs to like get in touch with you and you need to do a generative release or something like that. That was kind of like the seeds of someday, whenever the time is right, and I know it'll be right, I will turn this kind of like visual approach, this language, this idea, this concept into a generative series. Like it lends itself to that. So I always had that in my back pocket. And during the time of the open edition mint, not knowingly at the time that I was going to do a generative mint, I did know that I was doing myself a favor by doing it because I was curating a like larger collector base, right? Like there's thousands of people now who now own these things. Honestly, the majority of them probably not super into it for the art, but whatever, I've still captured a larger collector base, and now I have the opportunity to deliver something special to them. And so around about like the mint finishing and the weeks that followed, I think it became more and more apparent to me that the generative series was going to be something that played into that. And then, here we are. I think it was from start working on it to finish, like 9.5, 10 months. Here we are. And now we have a bunch of, generative memes, which I am like so just similar to Geometric Pepe, is so fucking grateful for. And, I feel like this collection of work is very, very much, it really is like a culmination of I think the work that I'm known for, how I'm known in the space through memes and expressing myself in that way, and continuing to try to push proliferation of memes into an artistic memeplex. So
yeah, I love that. The description on this collection, I believe, is that it's a culmination of your work over the past couple of years, and it truly encompasses the idea of modern memeism, with the goal being to mutate, propagate, and proliferate memes through an artistic memeplex. Couple of questions off there. Can you maybe elaborate for us on the concept of modern memeism and how it influenced this collection?
I mean, I think I tried to think about that a lot, and honestly, whenever I first came up with the term like modern memeism, I didn't know what the fuck it meant. I just thought it was funny.
It just sounds cool.
Yeah, very much like a meme in and of itself, I think. But the more that I do, or I've reflected on it, I think that it is like the exact approach, which is the latter of that description. Modern memeism being a concerted effort to mutate, propagate, and proliferate memes through a memeplex that is full of art. I think that's, in my mind at least, that's exactly what it is. Like, that's how I think about it. I think people can interpret it, of course, how they want, but that's how I think about it.
I love that. And there is a burn mechanic for this collection, right? So burn 4 keyboards, and you get one of the memes. And I think there's 9 days left for people to do that?
Yeah, about 9 days left. I think we're getting up there too. I had guessed that they would end up being about 500 or 600 total pieces from this. Just, I don't know why those numbers just felt right. And I think we're getting there. We're right now, like last I saw, we were in the 420s. I actually think we may be stuck on 420. I want to say someone minted 420. Everybody was like, wait.
No one else
no one else mint. Yeah. Nobody else mint. I'll stop the mint. Close the mint. But nine more days left. And, to speak a bit, just like about more to the concept of it all as well, like the burn mechanic, the choice to allow collectors to curate these. The conceptual through line for all of this is obviously just like memes, right? And I knew from the beginning that I found it so conceptually strong to have the collectors do so, because we all think about like our personal meme folders that we have on our devices and how we curate them to our specific sense of human expression and those kinds of things. I just didn't see any other way to execute on this other than having the collector kind of curate it themselves. I did get some pushback from that, like people like, it should just be random, whatever. But I think just I'm all about leaning into the conceptual side of all of this. And it's just been so fucking cool to see how people have like explored and generated and done things on their own. I mean, it was crazy. I remember that first week even seeing certain outputs that I was like, as much time as I've spent with this, like I've never seen anything like that. Like, right? Like it's crazy. The kind of like infinite expanse of a generative series and how it can always present something new, which again, it's like that's a conceptual tie to memes. I'm just super fucking proud of it. And just happy that it exists and happy that people connect with it.
Right. And you mentioned allowing collectors to personally curate their memes. Could you kind of walk us through how this process works with this collection?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So whenever someone heads to the mint page, they're usually presented with something that is what I like to consider kind of the blueprint or like the starting point of the meme, often represented or like shown like this one over here, this green one, meme 38. It's always like thin stroked, kind of heavy divisions, but it's supposed to represent like the blue point or the starting point. And from there, they can fine tune just about anything and everything, from stroke size to the number of divisions within the piece. Like if you look at one like this, you can tell that there's far less divisions than the original blueprint. Colors can change, background colors could change, blurring, distortion, like these, mutating the actual geometry itself, which can take a new form into, something like this, or even something like this, like 139 over here. It's just, it seems really simple. Like the things that you're changing are incredibly simple, but the results that it yield are all so diverse. And that was always I think the visual goal with this collection is to just create a super diverse group of art that people can enjoy and view, but also understand that it is part of the same family. And again, I think that is very much a mimetic through line that is achieved through all of this. So I'm super proud of it, especially like the visual diversity piece. Not to harp on that too much, but one thing when like studying generative art and like looking through collections, and this is not in any way knocking anybody, but I think you all probably know that like you see a lot of the same almost. And that's not to say that you won't with the memes generative collection at all, but I think what it does really, really well is, visual diversity of memes, which I'm really proud of.
Totally. I mean, look at what number 61 over here. This black back one looks like just paint splatters on a canvas. It looks awesome.
It's crazy.
That sounds great. Were there any like challenges that you faced while creating this collection?
Oh, dude, Jesus. I'll say I will be the first person to admit that I am not the most technically proficient individual out there. Like I think of like the goats like Tyler Hobbs and Snowfro, and honestly like just all Dimitri, all the like people that everyone knows who are like very, very good at this. Like I am not on that level, but I am a very like which I guess we'll get to the 9, which autodidact is in there, and I'm very much the kind of person that is, if I have an idea or a vision of something, by any means necessary, I will take to execute the thing. And this is very much that. It was a huge learning experience to me. Shout out to the coding train on YouTube, because they taught me so much to getting my hands dirty with JavaScript and becoming more comfortable with it. I mean, the issues I ran into were just like not nonstop, but it was a lot. There were a ton, and that's why it took me a really, really long time, was just like working through that and making sure that if I was breaking things, I was going back to fix them and not digging myself into like a hugely like a really, really deep hole of technical debt and that kind of stuff, and making sure that like I'm on top. Yep, Jules, exactly. Yeah, tech debt is extremely real. And I found myself in heaps of tech debt during this whole entire process, which is exactly why I had partnered with Highlight to execute on all this. Just because I met them in Miami at the base house. And during that time, I was kind of looking for a partner who would really help me with the contract work, help me clean up some of this so that, we could have a really successful like mint and the user experience would work well. And dude, I seriously have, I do not have enough good things to say about Highlight. Like they are such a great partner. And I've got some more work coming up that'll hit later this year, or not later this year, later this summer. That again, I'm partnering with them with just because It was a really great experience, and they helped me get over that hurdle, which I had so much fear and anxiety about when it came to like the mint and making sure that everything was executed well. Yeah.
Well, it turned out great. You did
Thank
awesome. You know, you'll be up there with the legends soon, with the generative art legends for sure.
I appreciate that, man.
I know you originally mentioned that there was another path for the keyboards to begin with, but
Yeah.
you know, the more you worked on the generative project, the more you felt like this was the way to go. Can you maybe share some details on the alternate path that the keyboards didn't take?
Yeah. The alternate path was I was curating a group of artists to create their own version of a keyboard. And then we were going to do like a burn for those pieces. It was just going to be like a ERC 1155 type of burn, you know, just like editions burn. There was going to be about 15 artists, 11 of which, no, it wasn't 11. I think it was more like 8 or 9 who had fully committed. And, you know, during all of that time too, I had the generative idea was still in the back of my mind. And I was starting to really like tinker with things, and through all of like the coordinating and chatting with them and trying to get it all work, like I just knew it wasn't going to be it. I just felt it in my gut that was not going to be the way that I was gonna go about this. And honestly, I'm so happy that I didn't. I'm glad that like this ended up being the result of it. And of course, like, you know, shout out to all those artists too. I made sure they were, you know, compensated with a bunch of keys that they're able to use to mint their own memes and that kind of thing.
Oh, sorry, I muted myself. But yes, that's super interesting to hear. I think it turned out great. I think you made the right choice going with the generative series. Yeah, it's awesome, man.
Thank you.
I know we're coming up on the hour here. I want to obviously be conscious of your time. Should we move on to the next room?
Let's do it. Yes, please. I would love to.
This beautiful room. Shout out to Wolfgang, by the way. This is a Wolfgang gallery. I just, you know, love Wolfgang's work. I mean, this blue room really just hits different. It really does. But yeah, so we are on to the last room of the gallery, the 9. And now this is your super rare Genesis collection.
Yep.
And the first piece being released in February of 2023, with the last one being minted at the end of March of that year and selling privately to VVD. Shout out to VVD. Yeah, a series of 9 self-portraits that come together to create one big piece in the form of a triple triptych. What can you tell us about, you know, the inspiration behind this collection?
Yeah, gosh, this is so great. I'm glad we're talking about this too. I'm happy to go over time if we need to, because I just this is different, you know, certainly different than what I'm known for, and even what we just talked about with like memes. And you know, it's certainly representative that there is this side of me that is not always like thinking about memes. You know, there is a certain like emotional and self-expressive route that I do need to take with my art. And the 9 is, I think, the perfect representation of that. I had been working on this, man, I was working on the 9, Slug. I think Slug is in here. Slug was like the first person that ever talked about this. This was probably, I started working on them in like September or October of 2022, or 2022, whenever Geometric Pepes was going on. And it all started with actually my profile picture that I don't have right now, but what I have right now is a version that Dark Farms did. But it all started with a version of the self, more so from like an artistic point of view. I remember sending it to Slug and just be like, yo, like, what do you think? And of course he was like super friendly and the PFP change. Yeah, because my PFP was a cryptode with that had noggles on that I had for so long. But it all kind of started there. And I knew that the I knew that the visual style was something that like I enjoyed and I really felt and I connected with, and I knew I needed to explore more. Um, and I had always wanted to do kind of like a series of, in a way, self portraits or self reflections. And along with that, doing a what was first supposed to just be like a triptych. I just, I wanted to do something where the pieces are all kind of connected together. And that would be, in my mind, like an interesting moment for, number one, the collectors, but I think conceptually too, like these being self portraits or self reflections, all connected together into like one giant piece of self, is an interesting approach. So originally supposed to be a triptych. And one day I think I had developed, like Love, the first piece over here was the center, and it was always going to be the center. But I had started to develop the left and right sides of this. And while working on it, I started to extend Love up just a little bit, just as like an exploratory kind of thing, like just fucking around with shapes, honestly. There weren't any like definitive forms or anything like that. It's more just like visual exploration. And I thought to myself, I was like, oh shit, like what if I do a triple triptych, turn this into like a full-on square? I do 9 different pieces, which I think was great because that allowed for me to maybe express a little more, give a little bit more of myself to the series. And I'm super happy I did. I love this so much. And it is, I don't talk about it a ton. Obviously I'm like very consumed by memes at the moment and things like this, but this series is like a huge part of me as an artist, and really reflects myself, maybe the way that I introspect and think about myself a little bit more deeply. And yeah, I just love it. It's really, I just want to say thanks to y'all for putting this together, because it's really fucking cool to see it together like this.
Thank you to you for allowing this to happen. We wouldn't be able to do this without you. Really love these gallery tours. You get to learn so much about the artist and really experience it in a different way that you couldn't do so in the traditional world. So I appreciate you, and shout out to all our lovely listeners that are in here, in the spaces and in the gallery as well. Always showing up, showing support. Really appreciate that. But yeah, onto the triple triptych. So you were saying that Love was the first piece, but did you draw out the full picture at first, or did you kind of just keep adding works over time? How did you land on 9, and how did you choose the order of which ones you would release them in? I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah,
about
honestly,
that whole process.
Yeah, no real specific. Well, I at least knew like the order that I released them in. I wanted them to be, I didn't want to like release them row by row. I kind of wanted to keep people guessing. Number one, I thought that was a lot of fun. Just to like, I would post, I think, like pictures of the triple triptych, but with some missing as they hadn't been released yet. But as far as like creating the work as a whole, like I mentioned, it all started with Love, and the twos on the sides, Intuition and Autodidact. They would always be, they were there already, but as I began to like decide to, okay, like I was talking about earlier, like the exploration part took me into I'm expanding this into something bigger, into the triple triptych. The other pieces just kind of like came together. I would say I was like a lot more loose with them. I would really just, especially because compositionally, like there's so much at stake, and there's so much to like think about and consider and be careful with. So they all really started super loose. Like I would say the top 3 and the bottom 3 were really, really loose to begin with. And they all kind of one by one would take their final forms. Not necessarily through a specific, not necessarily for like a specific reason, or like, you know, I wasn't like, oh, I need to finish Curiosity first. It just kind of happened to be that way. And once I felt like that certain section or quadrant was finished, I would be done with it. But yeah, I mean, I'm just, gosh, even just like looking at it now, it really like takes me back, and I feel like I need to get back into this, I don't know, mindset of work, because I really, really do love this. It's been a while since I've sat with it, honestly. So I'm grateful for this. As I've been absolutely consumed, drowning in memes. So it's a lot of fun to like look at this and discuss it.
Yeah, it's awesome seeing, this side of your work. It's really a truly beautiful collection. These pieces all have a unique story or inspiration behind them. And I'd really love to go through a couple or all of them if you'd like. We have the first one of the collection, Love Here, and this was minted on Valentine's Day of 2023. Mm-hmm. The description reads, "Love for your wife, your son, family, and friends, the ones that give you purpose."
Yep.
Can you share a bit more on this piece?
Yeah, of course, man. I think there's a reason that it's obviously like super intentional that this is the centerpiece of it all. So my son was born 2 months after this, like we were coming to the very tail end. And I've just always if I'm being honest, I don't find like a ton of purpose in my life, not to be like a downer or a nihilist or anything like that. But what I do know is that my purpose is like my family and the people that I love, and they are always at the forefront. That kind of is, it's what I'm all about. That is me. Like the love that I have for them is the most important part of me, I think. So it was always going to be the center, and always number one. We're talking about like pieces that earlier we were talking about pieces that we could buy back. I don't know. There's a lot of these too, as I think about them in a more, I think, a deeply way, especially love. I'm like, damn, I wish I could get that back. I just, it's a special one.
I love that. Are there any other ones that, hold dear value to you in this collection?
Yeah,
I know they're all special, but do you have any other particular favorites?
Oh gosh, I mean, they really, all of them are. I mean, they are all just like so reflective of me as a person. I don't think I think maybe besides love, I don't really hold anything above the rest. They're all equally important into kind of comprising me as a human. They're just they're a lot of fun to like look at in retrospect too now, and I'm just like, I think about like going back to the time that I was like creating these, and just how I was feeling during that time, like the music that I was listening to. It's just it really kind of transports me a little bit. Yeah, but I don't think there's none in particular that I really hold above the rest. But I'm happy, if we want to extend time, I'm happy to go through each of them and talk about them if you want.
Yeah, for sure. Whatever you'd like.
Yeah.
We could definitely do that. I know we have Everchanger here, which was, the seventh piece in this collection, with the description reading, "Don't let people fool you into thinking that the way the world works is the way that it should be."
Yeah, definitely a like, this part of me that is always understanding that it is okay to change your mind, and like it's okay to adapt. And I think that that's a necessary part of growth. And I would say that being an artist in this space, and even just being involved in this space, has really made that impact on me. Like it's created that part of me, right? I think now more than ever I am I think more capable of adapting or changing my mind, or not being like so stuck in my ways, and hearing people out. It's an important quality to have, to connect with people on that level. an ever changer to me represents that. So you kind of how I kind of approached it artistically too is just this kind of face or this portrait that is you can tell a bit off. Like there's two different perspectives to it. There's different approaches to the eyes, and I think it just again denotes that I think at least people should try to embrace the ability to change, not just for the sake of changing, but making sure that like you're hearing people out and it's okay to change your mind. So
it's okay to challenge the status quo and do things differently for sure.
Yeah.
Next to it, we have, intuitions over here somewhere. I wanted to talk about that one a little because I know that was it's on the opposite wall.
Yeah, the one Intuition, that VVD. Yeah.
Yeah, the final piece in the 9 series. You've mentioned yourself that intuition is truly the guiding force for your creative expression and the whole reason why the 9 exists. Would love to hear a little bit more about this one and the story behind it and how it came about to landing in VVD's hands.
Yeah, really, man. It is, I love this one. It is very much a huge part of my journey here as an artist, is just trusting my gut and just going for it. I found that the hardest times that I've had as an artist is when maybe I'm like dwelling on something too much or seeking out too much advice or going against my intuition. I know I've had moments of doing something like that, like doing something for the reason of one that just doesn't fall within my gut feeling, right? And the moments that have benefited me most or where I feel happiest is the ones where I do trust my gut and my intuition. And like you were saying and how this piece describes it, that's exactly how the 9 came about. As we were talking about like the creative exploration of it, that was all just like intuition. Like that was just what I felt like, just happening. And what resulted was all of this. And I particularly like this piece too, and just how it reflects like the, you most kind of think of intuition as like you have all of these bits and pieces of information of like thoughts and ideas, and they kind of coalesce and come together into one, which is, your intuition. And it's just something for me at least, that I try to act on. And it's a core part of the Bats operating system, I guess. As far as like the acquisition, Vince he had reached out to me on Telegram. We were just talking about, I think during that time, Notable Pepe's was just kicking off maybe. And we had been talking a lot. And I knew that he was interested in one of these, and he DM'd me, and I'd be like, dude, I would be more than happy to let you acquire this, because I think that Vince is one of the best, if not the best, art collectors / curators in the space. So I do not say this lightly. It is an absolute honor to have that privilege and have him collect something like this.
Totally. He's a great collector to have. Also, shout out to Mooncat, which I believe owns like what, four of these species?
4 or 5. I know he's sold.
He might own all of them at this point.
Right. He owns 5. Yeah, I couldn't remember if he sold one, but he sold it because there was I did an airdrop of portraits to the collectors of the 9, and I think he had sold one of those. So not one of these, but yeah, he owns 5 of them.
Yeah, so you dropped some profile pictures to accompany each one of these works. What kind of spurred you to want to release the profile pictures to accompany the 9?
Really, I thought it was more just like a gesture of thank you, but also I didn't feel that my time spent with this kind of like artistic and creative approach was quite done yet. So I was still creating, like, I have the self PFP. Like, I wanted to create extensions of that weren't like, they're not in a triptych or anything like that, but just, individuals on their own. And I just, again, I thought it would be like a nice touch to airdrop those to them. Yeah.
Sorry, was muted again, but yes, I was just agreeing that I love the profile pictures, that they look so great. But yeah, if there's any other piece in here that you'd like to touch on, feel free. If not, maybe we could open it up to any speakers that would like to come up and maybe ask you a few questions. If not, I'll have a couple more before we wrap things up.
Yeah, I'm fine. Let's I'm good with taking some questions. That sounds good to me.
Okay, well, if anybody would like to request, I'll be on the lookout for those, and we'll get you up here. So feel free. Jules, I know you're already a speaker. How are you, man? We were trying to say what's up to you earlier, but I think you're
ignoring us.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. I was rolling over from something else. I mean, this has been awesome. I don't have any questions. I hope some folks come up and ask. I just do want to thank you, Bats, for taking the time to do this with us. It's been awesome. Tony, as always, like, it's just amazing the research that you do. It's the best interview. But Bats, it's been awesome to be immersed in surrounded by your work. I really love the experience. So thank you again.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you. I think Jules, you're the person who kicked all this off for us, introductions and everything. So thank you, brother. This has been so fun.
Totally. Thank you, Jules. Shout out to you. Yeah, you did kick all this off, so really appreciate that. Bats, it's obviously been a pleasure. Love doing these tours whenever I get a chance to. I don't see any requests coming in. Don't be shy, my friends. Bats is a great guy, obviously super receptive to answering any questions. Feel free to either drop them in World Chat, or if you want to request on here, we could bring you up. But I guess I'll ask a few more, and if no one comes up, that's fine. Yeah. But are there any other projects or collections that you're currently working on that you can maybe share with us, or anything we should be on the lookout for?
Yeah, I'm actually. I mentioned earlier that my plan is to partner with Highlight again for another generative drop, which would be some people may have seen them here, but like the Pepe charts. Like whenever meme coin season really started popping off last year, I had created these Pepe charts, just to kind of like capture the moment of what was happening. And so what I've done is I've created a generative set of those charts, just like different traits, like silly technical analysis, like buy sells type of things. So I'm going to partner with Highlight again for that. And like I said, sometime later this summer, we will release that. It's so funny. Like we were talking earlier, the lack, I think, for me, like the technical depth of all of this. My original plan was to have those charts and memes drop at the same exact time. But in hindsight, that was so stupid, because it's just so much work goes into these kinds of things. And I hate that I had ever said that, but that's okay. It happens. So yeah, we'll do generative Pepe charts, which will be a burn. By the way, there's currently an ERC edition out there. And I'll be looking forward to that. Other than that, I don't have anything, and this is on purpose. I've got nothing like lined up for the rest of the year. I think my plan is to, number one, just like wrap up working on my website, which I've been doing on the side for a while, trying to get that done. I have like some fun Easter egg type of stuff that I've been putting together, like a GM Pepe creation tool, which will be really cool. People can like fill out these grids and create their own and save it. It'll be a lot of fun. So trying to finish that and be done with it. I would say, creatively, other than that, I'm currently in a bit of this mode of like really deep, just creative exploration. Just kind of whatever comes to me, like not forcing anything, not like feeling the pressure to start a brand new collection, just kind of seeing what happens. Like I said, following my intuition a bit. And, to speak on that more, I think a little bit what I am leaning into just a touch more is like, this is outside of the world of memes, but working on some like really, what's the best way to describe it? Like dark art, I guess. I think there's a part of me that wants to really, really explore that. I'm super passionate about the music that I listen to, and I think that it's like a huge part of my life. And it is very like dark and heavy, like deathcore type of stuff. And there's a creative part of me that I think needs to express that visually. So maybe we'll have something come from that within the next year or two. But, you know, for the time being, I'm just trusting my gut and rolling with it, you know?
Going with the intuition. Love that. Yes. I'll definitely keep my eyes out for the Pepe charts. Thank you for sharing the alpha. Would love to see some of the dark stuff come out. That'd be great as well.
Yeah,
I know.
I really like. I was talking with someone about it. I was talking with ACK about it actually. I can't remember. Someone had posted on the timeline like, how come nobody's creating like gory art or like or anything like that? Like, not to say that I'm going to like, not to say that I'm gonna like do like purely gory art, but like, how come nobody's like doing anything like super dark or anything like that? And like I reached out to ACK about that, especially because I think whenever I first thought about it, I had this you know what I did is I didn't trust like my intuition, because I was like, you know, would it make sense for me to do that as an artist, because it doesn't like reflect what I'm known for in memes? And you know, and of course he was super supportive. He's like, dude, fuck that. Like, you know, we have a need as an artist to express ourselves and get it out of our system. So trust
push the boundaries.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, and I see Weary's question here in the chat. Some of my favorite deathcore bands. God, dude, I could go on for so long. One of my like what I've been listening to a ton of lately. There's a collaboration EP between Disembodied Tyrant and Synestia. Probably like my favorite deathcore release over the past couple of years. Like, it's just so fucking good. A couple of other bands I love. Gosh, dude, Darko, Black Tongue. This is more like proggish, I guess, but Slice the Cake or Great. Lorna Shore. I mean, all the heavy hitters. I love them all, honestly. There's no like I hope this doesn't get me in trouble, but Infant Annihilator is another one. Like, absolutely fucking love it. Their music, it's kind of like satire on the dark, like gory side of deathcore. But I just, you know, for some reason that music, I just when it hits me, like it fills my soul. I don't know what it is. Because the emotion behind it and the rawness and the realness of it. But, yeah.
Love that. Yeah, we have a couple people that requested and came up for questions. Another quick one from the chat. I know DK had asked if you had any tips for creative block. And then I think I saw Jules with his hands up. And then we could go over to Slug and then to Chris. And then we could wrap up.
Cool. Yeah, that sounds good. Oh, man. Tips for creative block. Honestly, what really helps me... what really helps me with my creative block is like exercise and fitness, that kind of thing. Something about it just I get like a mental reset. There's like this form of clarity that comes after. It's funny, like I get in these spurts of if I feel a creative block or something like that, I either go on a run. I get like really focused on my regimen and what I'm doing for that week. Like what my lifts are going to be, what numbers I'm trying to, like that kind of stuff. And I feel like that always kind of releases the creative block for me. So probably another way to think about that is just like finding intense interest in something outside of, you know, creative like exploration or really, I think mainly it's just taking the time away from it too. Like if I feel myself hitting the block, I close down all of my programs. Like I refuse to open them, not even going to think about it. I'll even maybe take some time away from the timeline or the space until, just until I feel ready.
Dude, you must get a lot of creative block because you are absolutely jacked, if I recall correctly from a picture that I seen you had posted on the timeline once.
Well, I mean, man, I've been so like, fitness has been a huge part of my life for, almost like 14 or 15 years now. And I think of it, at the beginning, it was certainly like, I was like lifting whenever I was in college and shit. I was like, man, I just want to get like jacked, shredded, all that stuff. I think as most people do. But now it's like much more a form of, I think, meditation. I do focus a lot less on like the progress of my lifts these days. Like it's more so just like, I need to go into the gym, feel some catharsis, throw around some weight, listen to people like screaming into my ear through the metal, and there's like an emotional release from all of that. So I guess I'm just lucky that like that's my outlet for all that.
It's a great outlet to have.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jules, I don't know if you had accidentally raised your hand or if you have another question.
I got a question. I'm trolling in the oncyber chat. Sorry about that. Bats, I know we've celebrated your art and this, but I know that you're also like a really big collector, and you do a lot to support artists. And I'm curious what you look for from a piece of work or from an artist before deciding to collect.
Yeah, I mean, it's not. I don't think it's hard. I don't know if it's necessarily one thing in particular that really sets things off for me. Obviously, there's got to be some kind of emotional and mental connection to the work that I just feel. I don't ever really like, and I'm not gonna buy into something because other people say it's good or like it's hyped up. Like I myself, which I've done before. I mean, I think everybody here has probably bought into things, for hype. We all probably still do it, but on my collective journey, it's got to be something that I feel like there's an attachment that I can immediately feel to it. And a great example of that, honestly, is like Die With the Most Likes release from yesterday, like Nameless Dread. As soon as I started seeing the like teasers of it, I was like, dude, this is so fucking it. I connect with that, and I connect with Die, just like how he writes, how he conducts himself. Like it's a whole, I think like his personality, everything he does is art. But just to answer the question simply, I think it's just the emotional and like mental connection that I do have to it. I just kind of have to feel it. Like, and even Jules, maybe a soft Jules shill here. But like, collecting Burnout, man, like we talked about that, and I knew as soon as I saw it, I was going through that myself, and I was just like really fucking feeling the chains and the weight that like Burnout was kind of taking on my life. And so that's exactly the reason that I collected that thing. And not to say that like, Jules, you're a great dude. I've had the pleasure to hang out with you a couple times, and I think that helps. But just another example.
Love that. Great question. Great answer from Bats. You and Jules could kiss now. It's okay. Slug, Chris, anything from you guys' end? I know y'all have been waiting for a minute now.
Hey, Bats. I don't think we've ever talked like on.
No, we haven't.
Yeah, we're breaking the voice wall. So.
Finally.
Yeah. I think I heard you on Spaces once before, but I can never remember to join them, kind of thing. But I saw you one time. Was like, okay, Bats has a voice. I get it now, and matches the picture too. I'm like, okay. But yeah, I just want to give you the flowers. I think, and I do have a question, but I think. You may not know how much you impacted other artists. And I think it comes by the way of how you conduct yourself on the timeline, in the replies, quote tweets, like voicing your opinion, but lightheartedly. like you help people like me, and I know countless others who may have joined the space a little late, pretty terminally online, but like less of a deep understanding of like online meme history, crypto history, etc.
Yeah.
And it's like the way you style yourself, I think, has really inspired. I know me, you know, and I think like a lot of others. And so I think the energy you bring to the space is just like, I hate saying space, fuck. But
yeah, I do it all the time too.
So bad.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's this, the energy you bring is like really amazing. And we have our talks about like the art itself. So I'm not gonna get sappy there or anything, but it's like I just really appreciate like the memes, man. Like the ones you're doing right now. I'm like, sometimes I don't even know if those are like your original memes or like you found it, you know, like the first ones with like a shitload of noise. I was like, man, Bats found a really good one. I think I DM'd you. I was like, wait, like, did you make that? And I guess that leads me to my question, which is like, based on something Xcopy said a while back, and I don't remember the context, but he just said, if it hits, it hits.
Yeah.
Which is like something that we've all heard prior to that. And you quote tweeted it or like tweeted out yourself. And I think for me, like I know that feeling really well, and I'm getting like more in tune with it and like kind of trusting it. Like it has to hit in order for it to be like art for me. And I'm wondering, like, what's your take on that? Like what do you go through, like maybe like physiologically or like mentally, when you're like, oh yeah, what does that mean to you? Is it like when you first, like for me, like I move a piece from my iPad to my phone, and then like when it airdrops in and you're like looking at it fresh, I'm like, oh fuck yeah, that's this came together. This is good. And it's like an all-encompassing thing. Like, what is it for you?
Yeah, dude. First of all, Slug, dude, it's so good to talk to you. This has been a really, 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 really long time coming for those in the audience. Slug has been a really, really big part of my journey. Even like we didn't talk about it earlier, but like kicking off Geometric Pepes too. Like we can go back and look at those DMs, which I'm sure will be wild to look through. But I was talking with him about like how to go about minting them. Should I just do one of ones? All this stuff. Like Slug played a huge role in all of that, and I'm always so grateful for you, man. You're a great, great, great friend. I think, gosh, if it hits, it hits. That line is so simple, and I love it. And especially like I think in Xcopy's context too, it was like, God, I can't remember what kind of bullshit people were talking about on the timeline. I mean, y'all know it's always something. I think it was like, if an artist spends only like an hour on a piece or something like that, is it like, should we consider that like an actual piece of art? Just like some shit like that. Yes. And Xcopy was like, dude, like some things I've done have taken 20 minutes. Like if it hits, it hits.
That's totally it. That's why it resonated with me.
Yeah, and that's so true. And I do have, you're talking about like that moment of near finality or completion of a piece. And you just kind of know, like I'm the same way as you, Slug. Is like as I get there, I will have these moments where I will like audibly say out loud, like, oh fuck, like this is it. Like this is it. There's something about like all of your ideas and thoughts coming to that single port of completion, and the visceral reaction being like, oh, okay, let me sit back and observe and like feel and absorb the thing, because I know that this is it. I do the same exact thing. And again, to like talk about the context of all of that, I think X was so spot on with that. Like, I don't care. I couldn't give two fucks how long a piece took somebody. If I connect with it, I connect with it. The time spent that they spent making that does not change that fact. So if it hits, it hits.
Yeah. I think it's a timing thing that really struck me too, because sometimes my pieces just come together like 20 minutes almost, it feels like. I mean,
Yep.
the detail work takes a lot longer, but like
Yep.
the concept, you're like, oh wow, that just came out of thin air, it feels like. Like, what does that mean? How do I interpret that?
Yeah,
I guess I have
it's hard
one
to.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Like, and I think something you spoke on that also kind of came together for me, just as like it resonates as an artist, which is that you have to have that confidence, and like you're gonna do your way. And I remember showing you a piece once, and maybe it was like the way I asked the question or like the point in my journey, but your response was like, you'll know, like.
Yeah.
Like, you didn't even give me feedback. You didn't even give me any feedback, And I was like, yes.
Yeah.
That's
right?
actually perfect. Because you redirected the energy back to me to then, whether it's trust my gut or whatever. And that really like came full circle. And I guess I have one last question, which would be about the geometric Pepes. I was always wondering if you like had like little like like if they like had like backstories or anything, or like or like little names that you make up in your head like while you're making them. I always figured you were making them like one a week, couple of weeks, maybe a couple of weeks. I don't forget the exact cadence of how many you started dropping versus like towards the end and the whole thing. But like I clearly modeled some of like how I create my Frog is Life series after it, just like, okay, I'm gonna create this like as I feel. And it's just yours. I'm like, I wonder, like, is this a portal in the Bats' head? Like, where, like, because they're so interesting and unique, especially as I look at them in like the totality and all. You're just like, whoa. But like, is there something that you pondered, I guess, like naming them, and like you're just like, nah, we're gonna keep that to Bats?
You can go look through some of the descriptions of them, which may like I think give a hit into that. I would say mostly I didn't really think about it in that way. There are some where I absolutely did. I think like even like Geometric Pepe 100 is a really, really good one. I think like just a really small point of self-reflection into what the series had grown into, and maybe a former version of myself looking at the, kind of reflecting on the collection as a whole. There's also like Geometric Pepe 10, which I really, really love. It's really kind of like an outlier in the whole entire collection. But it was actually based on this original Pepe meme that I had found. It's one of my favorites of like, he's just like looking out a window over like the sea or something like that. I've always loved it. I don't know. I had it as like, I had it as my phone background for the longest time. But I was like, well, I want to create like a geometric version of this too. There's something about it that resonates with me and I love it. So Geometric Pepe 10 is one of those. But, other than that, nothing really from like a kind of character like point of view or anything like that. But if you do go read the descriptions, there is, I think there's probably some insights there and just into what I was really like feeling or thinking at the time. Some of them might not make any sense. It could be referencing like a song that I was listening to while I was making it. I'm sure that a lot of them are like that. But I might try to go find one if I can.
Yeah, I've clicked on like 6 or 7 and I see the range that you're talking about as you're describing it. And I don't think I ever spent time really in the descriptions like this.
So definitely. Cool. I always suggest to everybody like go look through the descriptions. I think there's a lot of like, I don't know, just insight there. They're kind of fun. Those are definitely like a kind of like a look into my brain, or just like how I was feeling or what I was thinking about.
That's how my frogs are. I feel like that's so funny. I had no idea you did that. It's hilarious. I remember buying art speculatively at the time, being like kind of new to like having a little bit of extra funds, and really wanted to support you and bid on like a few here and there.
Dude, I remember.
Man, rats! you know. And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
I ended up finally getting one and being like, so pumped, you know, for the journey as it like really like exploded outward. And I remember we had a talk like literally like Shamdu or whatever, ShamWow.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Would have been one. And then you commented like, "Hey, like you can't hate the game, you know?"
Right? Yeah.
And I think it's just that energy, you know, that has really helped this solidify itself, you know, like as I'm looking back at the description, seeing your arc in the descriptions, like it's really cool, man. I'm super proud to have you as a friend.
Dude.
And
Likewise.
appreciate the time, you guys.
Likewise.
Thank you so much for the question, Slug. Really appreciate you coming up. Great question, great answer, Bats. Yeah, thank you. Chris, I know you've been waiting for a while. Please feel free to hop up and ask your questions.
Yeah, sure. Hey, what's up, Bats? Can you hear me?
Chris.
Yeah, dude. I mean, I was just going to reiterate pretty much like what Slug said. I mean, you've been super inspiring. I pretty much just like follow what you do a lot in my own work, like the way you conduct yourself, just so genuine and supportive of artists. So just want to give you a shout out on that. And also it's just like awesome to see the gallery and like all the collection together. Almost want to see like even more in here. You have so much great work.
Yeah, it definitely, I will say, like as a side note, I'm definitely gonna take some time to build out a massive gallery. This is just, it's so fucking cool to like see all this stuff together, and I owe it to do that, because it's really fun to like walk around and visit. And I think about too, like as my son grows up, I mean, he's only 13 months now, but I'm like, man, I can't, whenever he gets a little bit older and like we can look through all this together, it's just going to be so much fun.
For sure. Yeah. Like me and my daughter like went to the open metaverse like a couple years ago, like when she was like 3 maybe, and just like hung out in like the ACK bar, and she just always wanted to go there. It was pretty fun.
Dude, that's awesome.
But shit, yeah, I'm also loving like all of your Becoming Frog and like all the other memes you've been working on lately.
Thank you.
Do you have anything you want to talk about there on what you're doing there?
Yeah, nothing too in particular. I think, oh my God, sorry about that. Didn't mean to burp. I think it's just really been like going back to like intuition. I don't know why I even started making like the Becoming Frogs thing. I think I was just doing like visual research and like looking around, and I saw I don't know, maybe it was like on Pinterest or something like this, like a picture of a glowing person or something like that. And I would be like, God, this would be so funny if I did this with Pepe and had that like me, like the little caption down there, like becomes frog. And so that's literally why I started doing them. But I think they've been a really good creative outlet for me. They've kept me kind of fresh, but also tapping into a bit more of like the lighthearted, humorous side to everything. It's just really, really enjoyable, and it makes things fun. And also, you know what, I think a lot of it too is just an attempt to kind of create brand new approaches to memes. And like as y'all probably see me say with a bunch of them, like, please steal this and spread it. Like, that's all that I want you to, all I'm asking you to do is right click, save this thing, and spread it far and wide. Just because that's how memes proliferate, and that's how they thrive, that's how they evolve. So really that's been about it. There's definitely been some a bit of like creative exploration too. You've seen like some of the ones that I've created that have this,
for sure,
this like CRT phaser effect to them, which I know Jules, our friend here, is like a master of. I hope I have your blessings. Hope they're okay. Yeah, it's just been, just really, I think the simplest way to put it is just like creative exploration.
Yeah, I mean, I'm loving them. I mean,
Thank you, man.
It's such an awesome direction and everything. And lastly, I was just curious, you talked about your music and stuff that you like, but like, what type of art do you have in your home, or are you like hoping to collect for your home to like have on your walls and live with? Just curious.
Well, they're not on my wall currently, but I do have the checks from Jack which I really, really, really do love. ACK Skulls. And then I'll also be getting my Piano Serendipity, a print of that soon to hang. Those are all like digitally native, artists that I have here. Also have an awesome Jules piece displaying as well, Burnout, which is, looks really, really fucking awesome on a digital display. But I other than that, I've got some of my own stuff that I have hanging up around here. More so, it's just like test prints for things and just to like keep for myself, just to like have. I think it is fun. But other than that, I mentioned it earlier, like Joseph Mueller-Brockman has all of these posters that he did from like the mid 20th century. And I've got a few of those. Like I would say most of the stuff hanging up around my house is like graphic design based. Not necessarily like art, but I'm definitely me and my family are currently transitioning into a new home, and my goal is to like take some time visiting some more galleries. Like we have some local galleries here that have artists who have wonderful work, and I kind of want to go in there and see what they're up to. On a recent vacation, my wife and I visited some galleries out in California too, like exploring that just a little bit more to I don't know, I think as an effort to like get in touch with my tastes, and I think just form more of a, I don't know, art collector's mindset, and really come to understand what I like and connect with. So yeah, going back to like what I was talking about with like dark art and that kind of thing, I would love to have like something like that in my house. I don't know, you think about like old Caravaggio paintings and things like that, something obviously not one of those but something to the tune of that, like really, really kind of into that. So hopefully, if Mrs. Betts allows it, that kind of.
I was just about to say.
I had a whale's ink on my TV the other day, and my wife made me turn it off because it like here's the White Walls app as a gift.
Yeah.
She's like, and it had like a pentagram and stuff. But I'm pumped for that dark art. I love dark art and like horror and stuff. So sweet. Well, thanks for having me on, man. I got no more questions right then.
Super dude. Thank you. And one thing I just want to say real quick, y'all, please, Chris and Slug, yes, they're very good friends of mine, but they're also both extremely, extremely talented artists and produce incredible work. Please go check their stuff out. It's absolutely worthwhile. And I'm honored to have them as my friends.
Shout out to Slug and Chris. Thank you guys so much for coming up and asking those questions. Always appreciate that. Yeah, make sure anybody listening to go check out their artworks. And Bats, if you're serious, about creating another gallery, please feel free to reach out.
Yes.
We have a lot of great things on the marketplace, but if you wanted something more bespoke and custom that really speaks to your style, I could always, connect you with one of our many great architects that I've met over the years. And really get something nice going for you. So feel free to let me know.
Will do, man. No, absolutely. I will. That'll be fucking awesome. Is there like a place that I can go view, I guess, the gallery? Like, I don't know, is OpenSea the best place to go look, or like?
Well, you could actually go to oncyber.io/marketplace and see all of our galleries there.
Cool.
The current existing ones. But we also have, in our Discord, we have a great little area where architects come and they show off their portfolios. You could kind of see their style and what they're working with. And they're super accessible, easy to reach out to and find someone that could actually build you something custom to your likings.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. Yeah, dude, I will, because this is awesome.
And anyone that's interested, that's listening, that wants, something like that, feel free. My DMs are always open and yeah. But aside from that, it's almost been 2 hours.
It's been a while. It's been so much fun though. I love, dude. I could do this stuff for so long. It's really, really a great time. So thank y'all again.
No, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for doing this tour with us, giving us your time and insights today. It's been a true treat. Great way to, kick off a Friday. I hope all of our listeners have an amazing weekend, and truly thank you from the bottom of our hearts for you guys that come out and make these tours what they are, being able to listen and ask questions and just partake in these tours. It's really what makes it special. I guess before we wrap up here, do you have any advice for any aspiring artists out there?
Yeah, trust your gut and just keep fucking pushing. As like cliche as all that sounds, I think that is what has helped propel me. I literally just doing what I feel and expressing what I really truly feel, not leading myself into a false sense of taste or trying to appeal to a certain crowd, for X, Y, or Z reasons, for ones that are kind of like, if they like this style, I must create in this style. Like, that's obviously, it's not the approach. Like you really have to like get in tune with how you feel. And honestly, that's easier said than done. I really do think that's a challenging thing, especially for just like how connected we all are in this space and how often we're exposed to like great and new incredible art. It's really just about getting in touch with your intuition and how you think and how you feel. So embrace that. I think eventually the good times come. You really do have to stick with it and be headstrong, because I know it can be hard.
Love that. Yep. Just keep pushing, go with your gut, trust your intuition. Great advice. Well, Bats, thank you so much for your time today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, man. Yeah, I really do. I thank you all so much. I would, maybe whenever I get like my full blown gallery put together or something like this, we can do it again. Because this was fun.
Let's run it back.
Yeah.
Well, everybody, have a great rest of your Friday, morning, day, or night, whatever it may be from wherever you're listening from. Take care. We'll see you on the next one. We've got Vinny Hager joining us next week, so make sure you guys tune into that.
Oh, legend. I'll have to be there. Vinny's the best, man. That's awesome. That'll be fun.
All right. Well, you guys take care, and until next time.
You too. Thanks, y'all.